Last time on The Ables, our hero went to lunch, where he was immediately targeted by a bunch of bullies that had recently escaped a Stephen King novel. After that, he went to superhero class, where we learned some more very silly names for things, including the One Who Does All, and the Ables, who defeated him. Welcome back for Chapter 6, which is called The Super Sim, which, if I had to guess, they're probably going to be put into a giant simulator machine. By the way, guys, peep my nails right now. Yes, they look fabulous. They will only look that fabulous for about 2 seconds before I chip them at my manual labor-esque job. Why do I have a straw for my can of iced tea? Why don't you have a straw? That's what I want to know. The author is finally trying to give us a few sensory details. They're all being gathered together in a gymnasium, or at least what our character assumes is a gymnasium. And it smells bad because there are lots of people inside it, and also it's cold. And he also thinks that the way the sounds are reverberating means that it's a larger gym than he's used to, which is like the first piece. We're chapter 6, and that is the first piece of information that I feel like is really building a sensory picture for us of a blind person's experience of the world, is that he can tell the room is bigger by the way the sounds are reverberating. This is a first-person book. We should be getting that all the time. We should be getting his first-hand experiences of the world around him, learning about the world the way he does. If anything surprises him, it should be a surprise to us. Every time something new happens, I just have more questions about this world. So somebody's trying to get their attention, and he's like tapping on the mic, and he's all timid, and nobody's really paying attention. And then all of a sudden, his voice completely changes, and it's super loud, and it's like, "May I have your attention?" We find out that that's the principal, and he has a superpower that makes him able to manipulate sound waves, which I have so many questions about because, 1, why was he using a mic in the first place if he can do that? 2, how can he do that? Anyway, he has to use a mic because he can't use his powers because there's a guy with a dampening field over the school, which we've been told is a passive ability. So that guy must be concentrating on, like, not stopping the principal's superpower, but stopping everybody else's superpowers, and what the hell is going on? Okay, we find out a little further down that he quickly called up the person who has the no power null field over the school and asked them to just allow him to use it. Our main character is weirdly judgy about the age of their principal because the principal has an old man voice, and now he's like the main character sitting here going, "Please let the coach who's going to speak next be younger." Why are you like this? The reason you didn't have any friends at your old school is because you are insufferable. Okay, so I think I may have been wrong about it being a holodeck. It is a simulation, the Super Sim, but it sounds like it's going to be over the entire city. It's going to be a training thing, a chance to use their powers over the whole city, a simulated superhero encounter type scenario. So at least it will be a goal, a plot for this character to engage in, because so far this book has been utterly plotless. I can't tell if anything is going to matter later because I do not trust this author to pull off any level of foreshadowing. Avi wanted to come out and play. Say hi to all the people, Avi. Say hi. Hi, I'm Avi. Hi. I want to go down. You're so cute. She's the cutest baby in the whole wide world. Yes, you are. Okay, you can go down. I'll go get your brother. Gaul never wakes up on his own, so I just have to let him wake up slowly. So he'll sit here and read with us for a little bit. So this whole Super Sim will not be, I don't know if you guys can see him, but he's being very cute. This whole Super Sim isn't going to be happening like right away today, but the teacher's still going over all the rules now. Like, instead of right before the kids actually go to... Whoa, be careful, Gaul. Oh my goodness. Instead of going over the rules right before the kids go into the competition, he's telling them all now. And we really don't care. But one of the rules is that you cannot use your powers on your fellow students, because the sim is supposed to be all about catching the criminals. But the question is, what if you have a power that is helpful? Like, let's say our main character wanted to use his power to lift one of his friends over a barrier or something. Would that be allowed because he's not using it to hurt his friend, or would that be disallowed because he is technically using his power on another superhero? Gall just bumped the camera. So basically they're all going to use their superpowers in a large LARPing event. I'm very familiar with those. Sometimes I'm not sure if Jeremy Scott isn't trolling us. This could be one giant troll post in book form. Our main character is making his way through the crowd, you know, with the assembly towards the door where he can pick up his information packet and his parental signature forms or whatever. And he's listening to the other students talk excitedly. And one of the kids near him says that he's a grower. A grower. Okay, which apparently means he can grow plants and trees with a wave of his hand, but that's not what my horrible brain thought of. I never quite know if some of the stupid things in this book, some of them are so dumb they feel like they must be on purpose.
It's a cunning plan, actually. Of course it is.
Kids don't talk like this. I turned to Bentley and Henry, who are on my right. Okay, guys, whom are we gonna get? Whom? Find me a middle schooler who says whom. Ah, but alas, the other kids in his class do not want to enter. They think they don't have a chance because they are disabled. Suddenly, our main character has become an inspirational speaker. I can't see, but you can. You can't walk, but I can. We'll work together. We'll do this together, friends. Guys that I barely know who I thought very insulting things about when I first met and sometimes still do. Yet one of their guys is an inventor. He could invent them a flying wheelchair. I don't know. This is superhero mythology. You can invent whatever the fuck you want. Like, they can invent a ray gun that shoots kittens. Like, not shoots at kittens, it shoots out kittens. Anyway, yeah, they have options. They live in superhero world. Can't the kid in the wheelchair, he can read minds, right? Is that his superpower? So he could just read the minds of everyone nearby, find out who's playing the criminals, and have a huge advantage on finding out who they're supposed to, like, apprehend. Okay, Bentley's the gadgets. Henry is the one who reads minds. I'm never gonna remember this. This paragraph. Look at all of the ellipses. Holy shit. Ellipses. I had never seen myself as a motivational speaker until now. I can safely say that no one reading this book thought of you as a motivational speaker until now. And even now, we're curious where that came from. Okay, this school just pulled a dick move. Apparently, the disabled students are not eligible for the Super Sim. I mean, they're surrounded by superheroes. If they get in over their heads, it's just LARPing. So our main character goes to Pout, and we are on to chapter 7. This one's called Exposed. I feel all exposed. This whole must hide the superpowers from everybody thing is just like a needless complication. He wants to talk to his parents about the school issue, but he can't until his little brother goes to bed. Jeremy Scott thinks we are not very intelligent as readers. He felt the need to explain to us what C4 is. Watching this right now, please tell me, do you not know what C4 is? If I told you some robbers used C4, you'd know what I was talking about, right? Don't treat your reader like they're dumb. That's rule number 1. Well, it might not be rule number 1, but it's an important rule. And if there's a few things in your book that they have to look up, like, they shouldn't have to look up everything, obviously, but if there's a thing or two that maybe they don't know that they have to look up, that's fine. If I write something about horses and I use a term that maybe the average reader isn't going to know, and it's like a small thing, like maybe a part of a bridle or a saddle or something, I am fine with that reader either getting what it is from context or looking it up. I am not going to explain every tiny minutia because I believe that my readers are intelligent enough to either know it or go check out what it is. So the phone rings, and then it says, Dad closed the leg rest on his easy chair, stood, and went to the phone. You don't need any of that. And then it says, Hello, Salingers. It was his standard phone greeting, even if the caller ID revealed that the caller was someone he knew. We don't care if that's his standard phone greeting, unless that's going to come up later, unless the fact that we know that he always greets everybody like this is going to come up later. If this kid is going to have to call home, and the only way that he knows that it is his dad answering the phone is because his dad answers it the same way every time, this is useless information. Throw it out. Here's another one. My dad handed me the phone. That's fine. I lifted it to my ear and said a cautious hello. You don't need to say he lifted it to his ear. Just have him say hello. Here's a couple of filter words. I'm not going to point this out too often, I hope. I guess no guarantees. He was pretty excited and talking rather quickly. He was excited and talking quickly. We don't need pretty and we don't need rather. Was he or was he not excited? Was he or was he not talking quickly? Be concise as often as you can, so that way when you can use these adverbs, they're well-placed and useful, and you don't throw them around like confetti. I wonder what happens if you're a superhero but you don't want to be a custodian. Like, do you get that choice? Like old Bentley here, who's calling him on the phone to be like, we need to appeal to the school board about this. He's like, I was just nervous about it before, but now I realize that if I'm ever going to be a custodian someday, I have to be able to handle scary situations. And that's great and all, but what if you don't want to be a custodian? What if you, like, can you just live a life? Or if you have superpowers, do you have to become a hero or a villain? Of course, our friend down the phone here says that it was our main character's rousing speech that truly changed his mind. So our main character, who's been sitting here salty all damn evening long, his friend calls him and is like, I want to lodge an appeal with the school, I need your help. Now our main character's like, that seems a little extreme. You were just sitting here whining to yourself all night, and then you don't want to lodge an appeal? He's not saying we're going to go punch the principal until he agrees with us. There's a female cardinal outside that's the chirping you hear, and apparently she does not like this book either because she sounds quite upset about it. So this book accidentally makes a good point, like, how is a kid who, like, very recently hit puberty supposed to keep a secret of superpowers from his younger sibling? How many younger siblings get told there is no Santa Claus accidentally by their older siblings? Now sometimes, yes, it is malicious. These characters keep saying, we're going to have to work twice as hard, we're going to have to want it twice as much. And I don't know how I feel about that. If it's, like, that is true, often people with disabilities do have to work harder. I'm not explaining it well, but there's, like, a way that sometimes disabilities are treated, where they are glorified. Oh man, you're so great, you did the thing. You know, oh, I wish I was as committed or hardworking or blah 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 as you, sort of a virtue thing that, again, I'm not explaining it very well. If you have a video or something that explains it better, please comment below. So he keeps mentioning, and I don't think this is going to be a thing, that his mom has, like, super mom powers. Like, she always knows what's happening in the next room. We know that her superpower is teleportation, but I keep waiting to find out that she has, like, a secondary power, which is to, like, know what her kids are up to. But I don't think that's what it is. I think it's just good old-fashioned, moms have super mom powers, and she's just the best mom ever. I don't like moms being reduced to just, she was the best mom ever. Moms are human people, too, who have other abilities and interests besides being moms, and only that. Every so often, this book just throws me this most ridiculous curveball. So he's talking to his mom, and then it says, I'm just going to read it for you. The room fell silent except for the television. A commercial for bleach was wrapping up. I had no idea what bleach was used for, really, but there were sure an awful lot of commercials for it. You don't know what bleach is used for?
Restroom chemicals include multi-purpose, disinfectant, and neutral floor cleaners.
Are you implying that because you're blind you don't know about cleaning products? It's bleach! Or is it because that's women's things and you don't have to deal with, you know, because mom is in charge of cleaning and you've never even had to, like, interact with bleach. Bleach has a really strong smell! And you just heard commercials for it. You say you hear a lot of commercials for it, so could you not figure out from the commercials what bleach is for, Avi? Could you not? I think Avi the ferret has a better idea of what bleach is for, and she's a ferret. So, like, what is
what I can't with this book sometimes. It just doesn't make any sense. None. This kid, he knows what color the cape of a figurine in his dad's office is, but he doesn't know what bleach is for. He goes back to reading his comic, which is a Batman comic, and he says that Batman was his favorite superhero before he learned that superheroes are real. So who's his favorite superhero now? It never says. Is it your dad? Like, tell us. For once, I want you to tell me something. This author also does a lot of, I have to admit, you know, starting on all these sentences with like, I have to admit, or if I was telling the truth, it would be this. Like, you don't need that stuff. You're in the character's head. You can just begin the sentence. Alright, something is happening. We may have a plot. I don't mean to alarm anyone.
Red alert. All hands stand to battle stations.
A news broadcast, of course, a handy news broadcast. Who hasn't used that trope? I have. We've all used it, alright? But a handy news broadcast breaks in, and it's like some criminal was being transported, he escaped, took the fight to Central Park, standard superhero stuff, and then an unknown man appeared, as if out of thin air, and he was, well, flying. And now the flying man is coming back to talk to the citizens, so superheroes are being revealed to the public. Oh no. Now, I just want to clear one thing up for you guys. I call this bad writing a lot, and that might seem really mean, and you could come at me and say, well, your writing is bad, or Julian, how do you know that your own writing isn't bad? When I say bad, it's a lot easier for me to say it's bad than for me to explain over and over again that on a technical level it is poorly done, it's very novice. I guess poorly done in many, many different ways. That doesn't mean that you can't still enjoy a book that is flawed, but you remember when I did that mini read-along of Once Bitten, Twice Loved, or whatever the heck that weird dream story was? There are people who still are commenting on that video, saying how much they loved that story. And that was just some of the worst writing I've seen in a long time, and people still love it. So me calling something bad is not necessarily saying that everyone should or will hate it. Could my own writing also be bad in a number of ways? Of course it could. So just to be clear, I'm just saying bad because it's shorter than having to stop every time. I wish he had practiced more before he published a book. Because you can always practice more, you can always get better. But old Jeremy Scott did not wait. He just published this thing. So now superheroes have been revealed. Some motherfucker has revealed them, and apparently nobody's memory wiping? Like, where's the memory wipe guy? Did he die? Now the parents turn the TV off. Now that superheroes have been revealed, not only to the world, but to the little brother. Now the parents are like, oh, better shut that off now. Okay. Weatherby, the guy in charge of wiping everyone's minds, did not die. There was an incident, but he's better now. Do parents have to inform Weatherby when their children come of age so that he knows not to wipe their minds anymore? This all seems just so logistically absurd. Mom is upset because they got Frank, the superhero, on film. So you're meaning to tell me that no one ever filmed a superhero before? Okay, apparently the minds weren't wiped because the little brother still knows. I'm very confused about how this world works. Okay, so maybe the plan, the bad guy plan, wasn't to reveal that superheroes are real to the normies. The parents think that the bad guys were trying to kidnap Weatherby, or whatever his name is, the shieldy guy who protects the normies from seeing the superheroes. So Mom and Dad think that actually someone was trying to steal him so they can cover up some big crime that they're going to do. Alright, and then the main character stops eavesdropping on Mom and Dad, and we are on to the next chapter. And we'll save that for whenever I get around to reading next time. But wow, I hope that you guys are enjoying some of this. I hope that you're getting something from it. Hi, hello, we're back with chapter 8, and I don't want to be here, but what else is new? Mostly because I keep getting video games that I'm interested in at the same time as I'm trying to do these read-alongs, and they just came out with a remake of Harvest Moon Friends of Mineral Town, although now it's called something else, but like that was like a quintessential game in my gaming youth. So of course I had to get it and playing it on the Switch. So I just really want to be farming my pretend crops at this point, and instead I'm reading about superheroes. So here we go. This is Chapter 8, The Gatehouse. Apparently he's going over to Bentley's house, you know, the rich kid, and his father is named Julius Crittenden. What the fuck? Apparently you can get rich superheroing, or rather, I guess, managing superheroes. I mean, that's the most American thing I've ever heard. And they're all staying in their guest house, which is bigger than our main character's actual house. We're spending some time learning about the servants, Bentley's servants, or his family's servants, like the butler and the nanny, and I don't know why we're learning about them. I guess just to prove that this guy is super fucking rich, because I doubt these characters are gonna be important. I assume that the butler and the nanny are also superheroes, and this suggests a superhero hierarchy / like superhero classism, which could be a whole other conversation. Again, we're just being told everything. We're being told that Bentley seems very comfortable with the butler and the nanny. You can spend the paragraph that you spend telling us that he's comfortable with the butler and the nanny, just giving us a little example of it instead. Maybe he makes an inside joke to the butler, or the nanny makes them cook his favorite kind of cookies, and he's like, "Oh, I didn't ask you to make these," and she's like, "Oh, you're very motherly. Oh, I knew you were having friends over, so I made them." You know, there are ways to show quickly that characters have a connection. So I'm pretty sure that we already established that Bentley invents things, but he's like, "Hey, you want to see my, like, inventing studio? You want to come see my workshop?" And the main character's like, "What? You invent things?" So they use their teleportation guy, because one of them can teleport. So people with teleportation abilities, they all seem really different, and I don't know if that's on purpose. Like, some people can go only to places they've already seen, some people can just get a brief description, maybe some people can look at a map. I don't know, though, if that is intentionally showing us that all superheroes are a little bit different, or if that is this author not following his own rules very well. So I know it's a trope for at least one superhero character to be very rich. I mean, this kid is basically Batman. He's very rich, he's into gadgets, blah, blah, blah. His name is Bentley. I mean, come on. I would be interested in seeing a story where there's not, like, a rich character conveniently. It reminds me a lot of Eve the Awakening, where Eve just made friends with a bunch of rich people, so they never had to worry about, like, supplies or where they were going to get super cool weapons or anything like that. It means that characters don't have to improvise as much. And that's kind of a downside. I keep forgetting these kids are supposed to be like 12 and 13. They do not sound like it ever. We're getting to see some of Bentley's inventions. I have no idea if any of these will matter, but we're seeing them. Admittedly, some of them are kind of crappy, but I think they're supposed to be. I think he's supposed to kind of be a bit of a rubbish inventor at this point. So we've gotten bored with the invention room, and we've moved on to his dad's office, where they all find out about this, like, secret call button, emergency button to call superheroes if his dad should need one. There's so many things I don't know if I should try to remember or not. Well, that's just waiting for corruption. His dad's a board member of some kind for this superhero, I don't know, organization, whatever. And our main character's like, what happens when a board member resigns? Do they take away his, like, cool superhero summoning button? And Bentley's like, oh, I don't think they ever resign. I think it's a lifetime job. And that just sounds like a terrible idea. They finally decided they're going to actually get around to what they came to talk about, which is the challenge, the competition, the Super Sim, that's what it's called. And so now they're finally talking strategy and working out, like, things they're going to have troubles with. And maybe that'll be cool. This is the reason you show don't tell. They're talking about how they're going to be slow, because none of them are really runners, and some of them are blind. And then they talk about, like, the one guy has asthma. It was true, particularly the part about Freddy. He puffed on his inhaler just about as often as James talked about his transporter business. Since we have seen neither of those things, we have no idea how frequently that is. We can assume frequently because of the way that it's said, but as we have seen, neither of those things. Where's the proof? All of a sudden, in the middle of their conversation, Donnie, the kid with Down syndrome, begins to respond to them. And they are all flabbergasted because up until now he had been completely nonverbal. But it seems that he is telling them that he is a fast runner. There's some weird ableism towards Donnie. I'm not going to describe all of it, but I feel like it's not great. Not a great take on a person with Down syndrome. Then again, our main character is 12, so not the most emotionally mature person in the world. Then again, how much of it is the main character and how much of it is Jeremy Scott? Because we all know when many authors are starting out, they write themselves into stories. They can't help it. It's just something that you do. I've done it. I did it when I was younger. I did it when I wrote my first books. One of my first main characters was completely me. And it wasn't intentional. It just happens because you are the person that you know best. And eventually you learn how to branch away from yourself. I don't know that Mr. Scott has learned to do that. So I can never really be sure how many of these thoughts are the main character's thoughts or the author's thoughts. Okay, Bentley's not in the wheelchair. He uses a cane. Henry's in the wheelchair. I can't keep track of these people. This has not been demonstrated at all. He says that we had already grown a bit protective of him, meaning Donnie, from an emotional standpoint. Since when? This has not been demonstrated. Yes, you invite him to stuff, but it feels more like out of obligation than a desire to include him. He does bring up, and I guess I kind of agree, that Donnie might not completely understand a simulated superhero type event. You can't be sure, maybe he would, but there's a danger that he wouldn't completely understand the super sim and could get hurt. I think that is a valid concern because they really don't know him well enough to know if he would understand. So we'll see if anything comes of that and if it's handled well. And that's the end of the chapter. So I am going to hang it up here. I'm going to let the ferrets out and play some video games. And I'll see you in the next chapter.
Why, yes, I am going to tell you all about my patrons. My patrons like Ray, Artemis, Shelby, Zaire, Jesper, Ryakio, Irene, Scribbling Cat, Savvy, Jenny, Amanda, Lisa, Callison, and Lennox. Have you ever heard of a better collection of patrons? Of course you haven't. Mine are the best.
To finish out the top shelf, be sure you have a putty knife, detail brush, and doorstop. Moving to your second shelf, we will place liners, both red and blue microfiber cloths, and a green mop head.